and how patient and good they were with me. And they shouldn't have been. They should have just taken me in the back and beaten me to death. Because I was loud and disruptive. So no, it's just the opposite. Very, very, very rarely I'll meet a terrible teacher, but hardly ever. Well, now you know, your teachers, you got to ask questions. You yell at your students and you tell them to ask questions. Then you sit here and you don't ask questions. And if you don't ask questions, you're going to have to stay after school and write on the blackboard, I don't ask questions.
My question is, do you like dogs?
Do I like dogs? I do, except I'm partial to cats. I like cats more than I like dogs. Because cats are very nice and very loving until you want to pet them. And then they just walk away. Yet we are so stupid, we feed them every day. And we're nice to them. And they go until they want something again. And we just keep on going back for more. Whereas the dog is always happy. You can kick them and they're happy. They'll just smile at you. Don't feed them, they'll wag the tail. Whereas a cat, you got to win them over so they hate you. So I like cats more than dogs, but I like dogs.
What do you like most about your life?
All the places I've gotten to go, I think. All the fancy people I've gotten to meet. That's the one lucky thing, you know. I got to meet all of these people, kings and queens and just regular old people. And I think that's probably the best. Because what I figured out, what I found out is pretty much most of them, except maybe those English people. In England, the Queen and the King, all fancy. But like I met the Tsar, and they was just a nice family. So most times that's what you find. All around the world, no matter who they are, no matter whether they're famous or not, most people are just people. And I think that's the best thing that I've been able to find out for myself.
Can you share the story about your first love?
I only had one love, Lily, who I married. As a matter of fact, the first time I ever saw a picture was on the trip that I was taking that ended me up in Ukraine. And he had a picture of his sister with her, and I saw it, and I know. And she was wonderful because, well, you know how I am. And I'm sure she thought it, but she never said it. And she'd kick anybody else who would. Yeah, so she was wonderful. Yep, I would say that's my only love.
Did anything funny happen to you on this trip to Ukraine or Russia?
Meeting with Odessa mayor.
Well, besides the Odessa mayor, I'm trying to, we laughed a lot. I'm just trying to think of any specifics. Mostly we just had fun. Except everywhere we went in Crimea, everyone, everywhere in Crimea said, oh, you should have been here last week. The weather was beautiful. There should be a law that you cannot say that to someone. You should have to say, oh, isn't it a beautiful day? Compared to yesterday, it's great. Making people feel bad they were a week late. And just as we're leaving, the sun comes out. And then we go to Yalta, and the rain comes. And as we're leaving Yalta, the sun comes out again. So they were sending couriers on horseback to tell everybody I was coming to town and close the damn windows, because I was bringing bad weather with me. Oh, you should have been here last week. Well, I wasn't. So as far as I know, the weather's always like this in Yalta. Oh no, it's always sunny, and it's not today. So that, I think, is probably the funniest. It wasn't funny at the time. But it was like people would whisper to everybody else, oh, when you see the old man, tell him he should have been here last week.
What are your favorite books or stories or fairy tales, and why?
Pretty much anything I wrote.
And why?
I just like good old stories. Nothing too complicated. Something that takes me from where I am in my head far away. I always think those are the best writers. So that when you finish reading the book, you're a little bit tired, because it's like you've been off with them and you got to catch your breath. And I always think that's the best kind of book. The problem is many people don't read anymore, and that's a tragedy, because it allows you to go anywhere you want to go. Yes.
I have a question. Probably you have traveled around the world and you have a great experience to meet different people. Have you met people who could say, we're living in the happiest place in the world? And where have you met them?
No one's ever said that to me, but no one ever says that, do they? But I must tell you something. Most everybody I see in Ukraine, one seems to be pretty happy. But more importantly, they seem very proud of where they live. They want to tell. In my country, if you would see a building, you would say, oh yes, that's a building. And that would be the end of it. Here you can tell me when it was built, who lived there, what happened in there, how many times it got burnt down, and how many times it built back up. And that's wonderful. That shows a great pride. So although no one's ever said anything, I would probably have to say Ukraine, because everybody knows so much about everything around them that even though they don't say it, they seem to be awfully happy.
Where do you plan to travel next?
Well, I'm going home. And at my age, you don't know.